Welcome to the Count of Monte Cristo, written by Alexandre Dumas. Narration by Alexander Black. Chapter 1. The Arrival at Marseille. On the 24th of February, 1815, the lookout of Notre-Dame de la Garde signaled the three-master, the Pharaon, from Smyrna, Trieste, and Naples. As usual, a pilot put off immediately, and, rounding the Château d'If, got on board the vessel between Cape Morgion and the Isle of Rion. Immediately, and according to custom, the platform of Fort Saint-Jean was covered with spectators. It is always an event at Marseille for a ship to come into port, especially when the ship, like the Pharaon, had been built, rigged, and laden on the stocks of the old fossé, and belonged to an owner of the city. The ship drew on. It had safely passed the strait, which some volcanic shock has made between the Isle of Castelaraine and the Isle of Jarreau, had doubled Pomègue, and approached the harbour under topsails, jib, and foresail, but so slowly and sedately that the idlers, with that instinct which misfortune sends before it, asked one another what misfortune could have happened on board. However, those experienced in navigation saw plainly that if any accident had occurred, it was not to the vessel herself, for she bore down with all the evidence of being skilfully handled, the anchor ready to be dropped, the bowsprit shrouds loose, and beside the pilot, who was steering the Pharaon by the narrow entrance of the port of Marseille, was a young man who, with activity and vigilant eye, watched every motion of the ship, and repeated each direction of the pilot. The vague disquietude which prevailed amongst the spectators had so much affected one of the crowd that he did not await the arrival of the vessel in harbour, but jumping into a small skiff, desired to be pulled alongside the Pharaon, which she reached as she rounded the creek of La Réserve. When the young man on board saw this individual approach, he left his station by the pilot, and came hat in hand to the side of the ship's bulwarks. He was a fine, tall, slim young fellow, with black eyes, and hair as dark as the raven's wing, and his whole appearance bespoke that calmness and resolution peculiar to men accustomed from their cradle to contend with danger. "Ah, is it you, Dantès?" cried the man in the skiff. "What's the matter? And why have you such an air of sadness aboard?" "A great misfortune, Monsieur Morel," replied the young man. "A great misfortune for me especially. Off Civitavecchia we lost our brave Captain Leclerc." "And the cargo?" inquired the owner eagerly. "Is all safe, Monsieur Morel, and I think you will be satisfied on that head."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?